You know that feeling you've probably been having lately, where it's not just that one or two things are off, it feels like the entire world is just losing its rhythm, right? There's this deep sense of exhaustion that's just so hard to shake. Well, let's dive into that. We're going to explore a really different take on why that might be happening.
I mean, it's just a constant barrage, isn't it? War, then another war, that lingering pandemic, the economy's all over the place, and the way people are so divided. It's just plain exhausting. And you gotta ask yourself, right? Is this all just a crazy string of bad luck? Or is there something bigger, something deeper at play here?
Okay, so when we get to this part, a world out of sync, look, it's easy to point fingers, right? We could blame politics, or the economy, or technology, and honestly, you wouldn't be wrong. But the perspective we're going to dig into today, which comes from a Buddhist view of things, says that all that stuff, it's just the symptoms. The real root cause of all this chaos, it's not actually out there at all.
And here's the core idea. The problem isn't that the world is chaotic. The real problem is that our minds are. See, the external world, it's a mirror. It's a reflection of what's going on inside of us collectively. So when millions of us are living in a constant state of anxiety, guess what? The world itself becomes anxious. When we're all driven by fear, the world becomes a place of conflict. External chaos, from this point of view, always starts with internal chaos.
So that brings us to the root of it all, inside the mind. And this is exactly why Buddhism, when it tries to make sense of big world events, always looks inward first, to the human mind. And this isn't just some, abstract philosophical thing. It's super practical. It's based on this one powerful idea, that the world we all share, our reality, is literally built from the inside out.
There's this saying, all is made from the mind. Now, that doesn't mean the world isn't real, that it's all some big illusion. Nope. What it means is that the reality we experience, it's the sum total of everything. Billions of individual minds, all with their own choices, their own hopes, their own fears, all interacting and bumping into each other at the same time. It's a collective creation. So if you really want to understand the world, you have to start by understanding the mind.
All right, let's talk about those three poisons. So what exactly is going on inside the mind that's causing all this trouble? Well, Buddhism zooms in on three, let's call them fundamental drivers. They're often called poisons because they fuel both our own inner turmoil and the chaos we see out in the world. And it's really important to get this. These aren't about judging people as good or bad. They're more like precise psychological diagnoses. Okay, first up is greed. But, and this is a big but, we're not just talking about wanting a fancy car or more money. It goes way deeper than that. It's this nagging, constant feeling of not enough, That little hum in the back of your mind. Not enough security, not enough love, not enough certainty about the future. And that feeling, it's what drives us to just constantly look for more on the outside.
Poison number 2 is aversion, or you could call it anger. Again, this isn't just about, getting mad and yelling. It's more like a long-term state of tension, of hostility. It's that feeling of being constantly on guard. And when we live in that kind of fear, our minds create a need for an enemy, someone to blame. It could be another country, another political party, whatever. And suddenly, our opposition doesn't just feel like a disagreement, it feels righteous. It feels like a cause, and that makes conflict seem totally necessary.
And finally, the third poison, and you could argue this is the deepest one, is ignorance. Now hold on, this does not mean being stupid or unintelligent, not at all. It's about fundamentally getting the diagnosis wrong. It's the belief that some external thing is going to fix everything, right? A new system, a new technology, a new person in charge. We think that's the solution, but we completely miss the fact that we haven't changed the underlying thinking that created the mess to begin with. Okay, so now we get to the web of karma. We've got these three poisons, greed, aversion, and ignorance, all churning away inside of individual people. But how does that jump from one person's head to, global chaos? Well, this is where the idea of karma comes in, and probably not in the way you've heard it talked about before. See, our usual view of karma is like a straight line, right? A causes B. I do something bad, and something bad happens to me later. Simple. But the Buddhist view is way more interesting. It's not a line, it's a tangled web. The idea is that we're all deeply interconnected. My actions, your actions, everyone's actions. They don't just affect us individually. They weave together to create the shared environment, the shared reality that we all have to live in.
And these analogies here are perfect for explaining it. Think about air pollution. One car on the road,
not a big deal. But when millions of us are driving every day, everyone in the city has to breathe that smoggy air, whether you drove or not. Or what about a financial bubble? My one little investment won't crash the market. But when that kind of thinking becomes a collective frenzy, everybody feels the pain when that bubble bursts. See, it's not about punishment. It's just the natural, unavoidable consequence of all of us being in the same system together.
Okay, so let's recap. We have these ancient, deeply human tendencies, the three poisons. We have this tangled web of collective karma. Now, what happens when you pour rocket fuel on that fire? That rocket fuel is modern technology. It's the great amplifier.
And this shows exactly how it works. Technology didn't invent these problems, right? It just put them on steroids. It automated them and skilled them up globally, instantly. So take greed, that not enough feeling. Well, now it's supercharged by algorithms, literally designed to make you feel dissatisfied so you keep scrolling, keep buying. Then there's aversion. It's amplified like crazy by platforms that reward outrage, that turn everything into a simple us versus them fight. And ignorance? That gets deeper and deeper as we just hand over our thinking to recommendation systems that feed us what we already believe.
And the end result of all this is that unique, modern kind of exhaustion, that feeling we talked about at the beginning. It's not the physical tiredness you get from a hard day's work. It's a deep mental exhaustion. It comes from having our attention constantly pulled in a million directions, our emotions constantly poked and prodded for engagement, and our minds never, ever getting a chance to just be quiet.
So where does that leave us? Let's talk about the path to inner stillness. Because after hearing all that, it's super easy to feel completely powerless, right? If the problems are this big, this systemic, what on earth can one person do? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into now. There is a personal path forward. It's not about despair.
And here is the most important takeaway, I think. You are not a failure for feeling anxious in a chaotic world. Let me say that again. You are not broken. Feeling overwhelmed is actually a sane, healthy reaction to a pretty insane environment. So the goal here is not to put the weight of the world on your shoulders. It's not about you fixing everything. The real, achievable goal is much simpler, to not be totally consumed by it all.
So what's a practical path look like? It's quiet, it's internal, and it comes down to three things. Number one, start to see the illusion that more will make you safe. Just start to question that idea that one more purchase, one more accomplishment is going to be the thing that finally brings you peace. Number two, stop being fuel for the outrage machine. You can consciously choose not to add your anger to the fire. You don't have to show up for every fight you're invited to. And number three, and this one is huge, allow yourself to be uncertain. Just stop assuming you know everything. Taking a pause before forming a strong opinion, that is a superpower these days.
And really, this quote says it all. You can't choose the era, but you can choose not to hand your entire heart to it. None of us got to pick the time we were born into, but we absolutely can choose. We have the power to decide how much of our inner peace, how much of our attention, how much of our heart we're going to give away to the chaos. And right there, in that choice, that's where you find your freedom. That's where you find your stability, no matter what's going on out there.